Good morning and welcome to this new trio conversation. Today we have the unique opportunity to hear directly the voice of Hire, in this case Hire Europe, thanks to Carmine Infante that is joining us. Carmine, welcome to the trio conversations.
Thank you very much. Thank you indeed for your invitation.
Carmine, I will start by giving our audience a quick intro about yourself. Since you have just taken over a new role and you have so many responsibilities in the organization. Can you tell us more about what you are currently up to and what kind of responsibilities you have in Hire Europe right now?
Yeah, let me say like this, 22 years working experience in big American group companies like Kraft, Mondelez, then even consultancy experience in Bain & Company, in Vodafone, so different kind of industries, different kind of cultural approaches. And then I joined this industry, the white good industry, 10 years ago. I'm currently, in these 10 years, last 10 years, I was in charge of some markets, so pure commercial experience, but now the company decided to give me this responsibility to follow new, I would say, new businesses, okay? New streams of business that the company wants to grow, wants to make bigger.
Thank you. And as part of this new role, it is our understanding that you have also taken the responsibility of nurturing what Hire would call new micro enterprises or new ventures, and we'll get into that. So today we have this opportunity to explore a bit about what is happening in Europe. And we know that Europe has many different flavors, cultures, businesses. So it's not just an individual company, but the question that we are going to explore, I guess, is how you can take what Hire experimented with in China and how to transform it and leverage it in a place as complex as Europe in a time in which we have many challenges at the social, political, economical level. So let's get started with Hire Europe. What is happening? What are the big challenges that the organization is facing, and yeah, how you are addressing them?
Yeah, very, very interesting question, because we cannot forget in 2019 there was an acquisition. Hire bought Candy and Uber. So the company in these last years was strongly involved in integration of two, I would say, different kind of approaches and also, I would say, different ideas of how to do the business. Inside this environment, Hire Europe is strongly working in order to implement the micro enterprise. I would say on different levels, on the market level, but also in a way at headquarter level. So this is also interesting because it's not only the people that have directly the contact with the customers that can be a micro enterprise inside a specific country, but also a micro enterprise that is starting from the European headquarter, leveraging down to the markets the organization. Clearly, where Hire Europe is working is with the micro enterprise is, I would say, in the more strategic businesses, even the most profitable business. And sometimes I would say where is more complicated to implement a new business, a new venture in an organization that is a big organization. And let me enter specifically inside I would say the two applications of the micro enterprise that I'm leading in this moment. From one side, there is a micro enterprise that is in progress. We started in February this year, and is regarding the business, I would say, auxiliary, a business that is auxiliary, complementary to the main business of the white goods, that is consumable, accessories, and services, all value-added services. So let me say, in a way, some touch point, different touch point inside the customer journey, above or together with the main business that is to sell a washing machine or a refrigerator. The other big project that can be considered as a micro enterprise, or let me say in a different way, is today not yet a micro enterprise, but we are creating all the enablers, all the steps in order to transform in a micro enterprise is the WashPass project. What is WashPass and why it's important? I share with you what is WashPass. WashPass is a new way to live the experience around the washing machine. WashPass is a washing machine with two main new features in comparison of the past. First, there is the disaggregated chemistry. So you don't need to put only one detergent, maybe for the white fabrics, for the colored ones, but you have inside the machine the ingredients of the detergents. And based on the clothes you put inside the washing machine, consequently the cycle that you want to use in the machine, automatically the machine is picking the right ingredient of the detergent. Results from a technical point of view, we can improve by 70% the performances of the washing, but also protecting in a stronger, better way the fabrics of your clothes. The other big advantage of this concept is the zero problem. So you don't buy the washing machine, you are renting a washing machine. You are paying once an entry fee, and then you pay a monthly fee based on, there are different kind of profiles. For example, for 100 washing cycles per year, 200, 300, whatever it is. So you pay based on the profile you want to have. Now, why? I was saying to you, we have to think in the future about the micro enterprise for this, because both, I would say, the consumable and accessories part and the WashPass is in a way a breakthrough in the industry. To sell a washing machine, or let me say, to sell a services, to rent as a customer a washing machine and not buying a washing machine is a breakthrough in the market. And when you have to make breakthrough in a company, in companies that are big organizations, and the breakthrough typically are small at the beginning. The business that can be generated are small, clearly. Typically, in a big organization, this becomes most probably the 10th priorities, as long as you have 10 priorities, and it's right or wrong to have 10 priorities. What happened? Automatically, you can lose the sense of the project, because the project can fail, not necessarily because the idea is not good, but because inside a big organization with a lot of priorities, and where the priorities are, of course, based on the size of the business, you lose the focus. And then what happens, a project can fail. And this is, so why is important to adopt a micro-enterprise approach inside the big corporation, especially in my point of view on the strategic project, where you do need a growth, a special growth, an extraordinary growth, and in projects that are changing the rules of the game, is because a micro-enterprise can give you the focus, can in a way have the zero distance. You know how much important, especially higher Europe is one of our attitude, the zero distance with the customer and with the employees. But also because, and let's enter in another, what are the, I would say the enabler of the micro enterprise, the people, the organization, the approach that people inside the micro enterprise need to have. To implement a micro enterprise is not easy. It's not easy indeed, especially on a consolidated and big corporation. Why? To me, there are two main challenges. The first one is the cultural challenges. And cultural is, from one side, inside the micro enterprise. You don't do the job of the micro enterprise just taking 5, 10 people inside one room, just sharing the targets. It's not enough. You need to do, but it's not enough. It's not going to work alone, just setting a common target, maybe even more specific, more tailor-made than other bigger targets, or just putting people inside the same room. You do need primarily people that in a way, in their own DNA, they have a soul of entrepreneurship, because you have to develop something. You need to be creative. You need to go behind the boundaries, your bias, beyond, over the limits than a normal, I would say in brackets, employee approach in a big organization could have. Typically in the big organization, the responsibility is so spread around that no one feels responsible of the project, while here has to be different. Of course, putting people together, sharing, and in a way, making even a brainwashing of the people about the target and about the direction can help the deployment of the micro enterprise. But it's important that the people that are involved in this kind of projects are committed, are entrepreneurs. They do not need to be evaluated based on the hours they spend in the job, but they have to be evaluated themselves. They have to evaluate themselves based on the contributions and the results, the contribution they are giving to the micro enterprise and to the project, and the results that, of course, you have to reach. And clearly, you know perfectly, this is not something that automatically happens in the company. But it's not only a cultural approach inside the organization of the micro enterprise, but is extremely important what you have around. And again, if the micro enterprise model, you know, is based on an important platform of services that has to be provided by the other departments. The micro enterprise has to be focused in the development of the business. It's strongly business driven, but then they have to be supported, helped by the other function, like typically the central function, the back office function, like I would say HR, finance, IT, you know, typically logistic in some case, it depends. But why there is a matter of cultural change also in this kind of department? Typically, the back office function do not have the customer approach. They are not devoted to serve the customers, and this is quite normal in an organization. It's not strange, it's normal. While here, they have to change the approach. They need to do the job in a different way, considering the micro enterprise as the first customer, helping them. I have to be clear, having an approach serving the micro enterprise as a customer does not mean they have to do everything the micro enterprise is asking, because they have some expertise that the micro enterprise could not have inside. So they are the experts of some specific function, and they have to support, even training, teaching, giving a different perspective to the micro enterprise, but with a customer approach. It's not easy, this. It's not easy because you have two different forces. There is the micro enterprise that has to, and then we go inside some characteristic of the micro enterprise. They have some target, leading goal they have to do. If you have people inside the micro enterprise that is entrepreneur, that have inside entrepreneurship soul, those kind of people wants to run, wants to make things happen. they have an idea they want to implement. On the other way around, the other force that can be, in a way, I don't want to say diverging, but can diverge sometimes, is the classic approach of I am the finance, I am the HR, I have to follow this, I would say, canonic way to do the business. So it's important to involve, trying to explain the way, actually involve, engage also the back office function in the job that the micro enterprise is doing. On the other way around, the back office function needs to change the approach. There are enablers, of course, in order to make working a macro enterprise. For sure, putting people together, it is important. I truly believe that the smart working is absolutely key for a modern organization, but either via Teams or via other tools or in presence, it is important that there is a sharing of the targets, because all people needs to feel as part of the team, needs to feel that if one of my colleagues is not, is having some difficulties, I need to keep him or her on board, because otherwise I'm not going to work.
Sorry, let me stop you here, because you touched on a number of very important areas. The first question, follow-up question I have for you is, can you give us a bit of numbers of understanding? So we have two areas. One is WashPass, one is consumables. How big the team is? I don't know if you can share anything about the market, the business they are trying to address, their targets. So how does it look like? What are they doing from a business and team, let's say, perspective?
Yeah. In this moment, actually, let me start from the micro enterprise, so the consumable and accessories. In the company, we have 20 people. So I would say more or less alpha in the headquarters and alpha in the market. So it's completely unbalanced. First, the number of the people, it's not only enough, but we are not covering the right touch point. But this is again normal, because this is the starting point. The micro enterprise was born a couple of months ago. I would tell you where we want to go. That is to reach, we have a plan, a 5-year plan that is going to reach actually 85, 90 people. That is more or less 1/3, 20-25% of these people are in headquarters, touching some type of jobs that in this moment are not done, that are the support then to the local implementation. And the remaining part, 70%, more or less, 80-70%, is in each single market. So there should be the head, but also the deployment and the zero distance approach inside the market. Creating, of course, a community, because we have to work as a community. Regarding the WashPass, in this moment, we have, I would say, a couple of people fully dedicated in the headquarters, and then we have part of people in each single department. Simply because in this moment it's a project that is happening in these days. We are now finalizing the technical part. We are now finalizing the service part. I do believe that as the consumable and accessories, we do need to have we do need to enlarge the products, so not only the washing machine, but we need to think in the future to include the dishwasher, the oven, the cooling, whatever it is. So automatically, for sure, I think even 5 people in the headquarters, and then again, it's important to have a presidium in each single market because there must be a focus on this. Otherwise, even in terms of distribution, where most probably the commercial part of this project will be at the beginning, the toughest part is not going to happen.
That's interesting, because what you are describing sounds to me a bit more like an ecosystem, right? Of players with different roles, different locations, collaborating, basically to invent something that doesn't exist, right? So in both cases, you are paving new ground in terms of services, in terms of addressing a new part of the market. There is not just the hardware, but it's what is needed around the hardware. What are the incentives?
Customer journey is the customer
journey.
Yeah,
right. The user scenario, as we will call it, of course. You talked a lot about entrepreneurship. So taking risk, you didn't say that, but putting skin in the game, right? The focus that you were describing at the beginning. What's the incentive for your colleagues to do this? Why should they risk, let's say, their career, maybe even their identity in taking this risk? Is it about money? Is it about motivation? Why are they committing themselves to do something that hasn't been done yet?
Yeah, when I talk about culture, is very important, because we need to, in order to let the micro enterprise working, you need people that are motivated, are curious, they want to reach results. Why? Because you cannot convince people just with a remuneration pack. But it's not only, but when you give the challenge, you challenge a person in taking risks, in things out of the box, in attracting even talents, because in order to make a micro enterprise working, you need to attract talents. There is also the remuneration pack that is absolutely an important part of the game. What I was saying before is you cannot do a micro enterprise involving people, motivating them only via money. It does not work. In terms of salary, we are working in this way. There is, of course, the clear base salary, variable salary, but what is very important is to let people participate to the profit, and most probably even the extra profit of the organization. So where we are working, we are trying to, it's still in progress, but the idea is this. The idea is to set some targets that are, I would say, in a way, wrongly, the minimum target that we have to reach, because we have to work inside a main framework that is the framework of the company. And let's not forget that we are belonging, in this specific case, to Area Europe. Area Europe has some strategic guidelines. So inside these strategic guidelines, inside the minimum target that the micro enterprise must reach, we have to incentivize people to go over the target. Classically, in a classic organization, manager can arrive to the budget and stop, can arrive to a number that is maximizing the MBO and stop. But this is totally wrong, because if you stop because you are taking money, it can be that you are leaving turnover business to the competitors. Yeah. But if we succeed to put a scheme when you go over this part of the profit generated can be then redistributed to the people, you are actually paying the risk of being partially an entrepreneur. Right. You are paying the competencies, you are paying talents that wants to take risks many times. And of course, you know, from one side, you should be motivated because it must be in your DNA to go over the limits. From another side, you are enjoying also the salary. Actually, most probably it's not the right word, enjoying. You are paying the risks then that people are taking during their work.
Another couple of questions. The first one is, how does the team work? There is still a boss calling the shots and telling everybody else what to do? You were referring to a community before, or is it a bit different than what we are being used to in traditional organizations? How does the micro enterprise or this ecosystem of micro enterprises look like?
Yeah, we have to discuss what is what is expected from a boss. For sure, I would say in a different way. There is someone that has to lead the organization, because the directions, the coordination needs to be supervised by someone. But the way to manage the team needs a very important point. People, each single people, if I told you before, each single person is a key to make the success. You cannot avoid even one person inside a micro enterprise working at the best. So what does it mean? That you have to motivate people to generate new ideas. They should not be scared to propose something different, something new. And the organization, in my view, should not be so vertical, but should be as much as possible horizontal, because it should be lean. You need to facilitate each kind of interactions across all levels. And of course, the role of the leader, the role of the boss should be different. Should be different because most probably is more someone that has to involve people and trying to valorize the contribution of each single person. Even here, for a boss of this kind of organization is a challenge, because most probably is a bit different than the past. But there is another important factor. If you think about a micro enterprise should set the leading goals, no? But the leading goals, again, inside the main framework, but the leading goals, if it's one person that is deciding the leading goals, then it's not longer, you cannot call even leading goals. The leading goals are leading goals if are generated by the biggest possible number of people of the organization. So even the role of the leader, of the boss of this organization is different. And again, the cultural part is, again, is very important.
You are discussing a lot the cultural part. So another aspect I would like to explore with you is this good for everyone? Can every colleague be or act as an entrepreneur? Is this palatable to attracting talents from outside, or hire is looking for some specific traits, some specific people that don't want to act as employees, but want to act as leaders, as entrepreneurs?
Clearly, you are segmenting the population you have to hire, clearly. Because you need to have people that are motivated, that are working. I was saying before, people needs to be motivated, but many times the motivation cannot be done only externally. You need even to be able to motivate yourself. It is an attitude, is a skill. You can teach people, but the single person needs to work. And so it means that you are segmenting the population. You need people that are used to think in a different way. How many times in the big organization there is the sentence, no, but I'm doing in this way because it was done like this in the past. It was always done like this. So you don't need people that are thinking, I would say, you need people that are able to overpass this kind of logic, no? And so you are segmenting again. You need people that likes to take risk. You need people that are capable to balance the risk and manage the risk, because then, of course, I mean, I'm not saying that we have to take only risks, or at least you have then to understand what are the level of the risk you can take, what are the potential parachute you need to take behind each kind of risky decision. And it's a particular type of profile. Most probably, even working inside a community, I think is very, we are drawing a profile that is very modern. And most probably, I personally believe that we are drawing actually a profile of talented people.
Yeah, that's looking at the results that we have been seeing on the news from Europe. I totally agree with that. Of course, there's lots of growth. I guess also a bit of challenges of pressure to progress, but lots of space for people to express themselves.
Let me add another
yeah, please.
Another very important point. It's important to accept again, it's a cultural mindset. We need to work accepting the mistakes. This is very important, because when you do something that is a new frontier, because this kind of organization is a new frontier, you need to accept to make mistakes, but of course then immediately to correct and make some changes in order to immediately again take the right direction. Because when it's clear that I mean, it's not always like this. Again, in the big organization, even medium organization, this kind of approach is not so common. But when you are doing something completely new, as it is this, you need to accept, to adjust the things on the way.
What's the biggest mistake that has been done in the last year or so? Mistake, let's say, or learning, of course, that.
But you know, especially for example, on WashPass, previously we underestimated the importance of some touch point of the services, simply because the services part, the technical part in our industry is quite something consolidated. We as an hire, but as a Candy, we have a long experience to produce a washing machine that is performing quite well. And of course, our mindset was strongly focused on this. I have to do a washing machine that is working perfectly, right? But at the beginning, we underestimated the fact that this is not a washing machine. This is a service, including a washing machine. So I need to have the same type of attention on the services that are where the customer experience is a new concept, at least in our industry. And of course, most probably, I will make I will take some decisions, some directions that are not perfect, because I need to learn something that is not inside my DNA. But a company that wants to, as hire is the #1 is in the world, and needs to create something to confirm, maybe to increase the market share and the distance in comparison of the second player, needs to accept this kind of approach.
Again, another couple of points. The first one is how have been the micro enterprise members, colleagues chosen? Have they been selected from the top? Have they been partially self-selected candidate themselves? How does it work? Is it still a top-down allocation model, or is it somebody raising their hands and saying, I would like to be an entrepreneur?
It's both. It's both. I truly believe that, again, in a consolidated organization, you need to give possibility to all people. So you need to understand if a person wants to accept the risk, understands as well the risk. So you need to give the possibilities. And personally, I gave the possibility to understand if this new way and new approach is fitting. Sometimes you can be facilitated by the introduction of different people with different profile in terms of mindset, but also in terms of industry, because they can help you to to see the things with a different perspective. So most probably is the right combination at the beginning, is the right combination of consolidated skills, consolidated people with new profiles, and automatically during the deployment of the micro enterprise, I do believe we are still very young, but I am expecting there will be an automatically people will decide if again the new business is fitting well or not. So an automatical selection of the people. Also because again the willingness to make some results, to have a leading goal, to set the leading goal, can also is not for all. It's not for all. So I can like some other maybe can think in a different way. So I do expect there will be an automatic auto selection.
What happens if the ME doesn't achieve the leading goal? Are they going to be fired? Are they going to be given another opportunity? Are they going to be brought back into the traditional, let's say, business?
I was saying before, we have to accept to make mistakes. Then, of course, we need to understand the reasons why of the mistakes. But let me assume that we have to be resilient on this kind of things. We should not give up if we truly believe in this kind of things. And the principle is absolutely correct, because again, especially when you want to do something that is either new or where you need an extraordinary acceleration, or you need to do some breakthrough, you need to have a different organization and you need to have a focus. Most probably there could be some correction, but no, to be back, I don't think is the right option.
And before you were touching upon another important area, there is the involvement of users, customers into it. Have you been able to formally do some co-creation with the users, so to get their feedback, to understand their journey, the touch points, the moments of truth, where they wanted to have something new, where they were happy with what you are giving them already? Is there an interaction at these early phases with the market?
You mean market, the final consumer, or final consumer?
Yeah, final consumer, but maybe the distribution, so the different actors, let's say, in the journey.
In this last month, leveraging my commercial experience in the past, for sure we have done. What I did was firstly try to understand if the local people were rightly convinced about the new scope, the new approach, because it was a test for me. Secondly, I started to interact with some customers, so typically distributors, maybe the one where I had a very good relation, and I just started to test and to provide them some, to present the ideas, the new approach, and trying to understand their feedback. Sometimes there are some, the selection of the customer is important, because you need to understand a customer that is able to talk, to understand and to talk the new language. Mm-hmm. So a customer that is very conservative most probably is not the best customer where you at the beginning you should go. So you need to take, I would say in a way, modern customers that like the challenges. Again, just to make some stress test. In reality, what we are doing is to arrive directly to the final consumer, the user of the product. And especially in our industry, that's the reason why I was mentioning a few times the customer journey. In our industry, who is working on the customer journey in a deep way, as higher Europe, higher globally wants to do, is not so popular, it's not so common. Yeah. So in this kind of things, from one side, we are not yet there in terms of my micro enterprise, in the micro enterprise that I'm representing, but we are working currently in understanding what are the profiles, internal profiles, that will able to manage this kind of aspect. But we will arrive also there. And for sure, the interaction with the customer is important then to measure the effectiveness of the micro enterprise and put some correction. Then again, I am expecting to make correction in the next years.
So you're really paving new ground. I think what you are describing is the D2C, so going directly to the consumer, involving the consumer, but also involving your colleagues, the support functions in a different way. And this is something that I wanted to explore with you as well. What reaction have you seen internally? So you're putting pressure on your colleagues. You want to have services quickly, maybe of high quality, and I guess they have a different mindset, they have different experience, they have different priority. What is happening there? How big is the resistance or transformation, let's say, in the support functions to go in this entrepreneurial direction, to go closer to the market and to the end consumer?
I would pretend if I tell you that there is no reaction, no resistance. Clear there are. Sometimes when you make a project of transformation, sometimes you have in brackets to force the changes. No? Again, in brackets. It depends. You have, you need to, in my personal point of view, you need to involve them in the game, even making, feel them more and more part of something that is alive. Then involving them, trying to get them closer to the final consumer in order to understand even their job, what is the impact of their job, not on my life or my job, but what are the effect of their job on the final consumer, because at the end, we win or we lose together if the consumer, the final consumer, is happy or not. So I think, again, resilience in this case and involvement are the right approach. Sometimes some decision has to be a little bit, again, forced.
Coming from the top. What about these interactions? Are you already establishing some kind of contracts, agreements, and these collaborations, whether that's within the micro enterprise, so within the headquarters and the people in the markets, or between the micro enterprise and the support functions? Are you already going towards what Heyi calls the EMC, the ecosystem micro community, or is still more, let's say, informal?
Is not yet implemented because you have to arrive there. So it's in the pipeline. Before implementing this kind of approach, that is a structured approach, no? I would say the formalization of this kind of approach, you need to have the right pillars set. In this moment, we are working in creating the right pillars and the right level of the interaction between these kind. We are trying to convert all, to guide, to bring all forces in the organization toward the same target. Then there will be the phase where we will formalize. There will be also another phase in which we will formalize an agreement also with the member of the ME, creating some long-term incentive plan. So involving them not only on the performances of the single year, but on the performances of goals that are happening in an horizontal, temporary horizontal that is longer than 1 year, most probably 5 years.
Have you already seen any change in the motivation of your colleagues by joining, let's say, this new venture? Has anything changed already?
Primarily the eyes of the people. They looked at the things in a different way. They are, I would say, allow me to say, smiling, no, when they do the job, and immediately after, the motivation to make things. This is something I'm noticing, and this is telling me that the direction, the model of the micro enterprise is giving, even in a short time. Again, I was appointed in February, so it's very short time. So if in this short time, this kind of approach is motivating people, most probably I have the right people, but most probably as well, the business, the model is working.
What's the impact on the traditional organization? Before you were saying that on WashPass, there are some people that are assigned to WashPass, and of course there are shared FTEs, so people that keep working on something else. Is there any friction there? So how to convince the boss, the traditional organization, to let his or her people be rented, let's say, shared with other initiatives? We have seen a bit of pressure here, so a bit of resistance, to be sincere, from the traditional organization when asking them to let their people partially go.
Yeah, in WashPass, as I said before, it's not yet a micro enterprise. It will, in my view, it needs to become a micro enterprise. So you have to try to use inside a traditional environment, you need to start to introduce some typical aspects of the micro enterprise, primarily sharing the target. So each people involved, even though is 0.2 FTE or whatever it is, needs to have inside the DMBO a part related to WashPass. For sure, so is most probably a part that is paramount important in the micro enterprise. For sure, you need to involve the bosses of the organization in order to share the different type of business that represents WashPass. From another side, you need to, in a way, buy their attention, trying to be convinced. Again, it's something that is, since it's an hybrid, there is, again, no micro enterprise, so you are still in a traditional environment. You need to select what are the 2-3 things typical of a micro enterprise inside a traditional environment. For example, I'll give you an example.
Sure.
We have, now is the week of the Fuorisalone in Milano, the Milano Design Week. And what I wanted with all my effort, what I did with all my effort was to put the WashPass inside the fair. This is not only a way to convince my external customers, but also to share with our colleagues, the internal people, the importance of a project like WashPass. So it is a way, different way to share the importance of this kind of project.
To what extent are you envisioning this approach that you are pioneering extended to the rest of higher Europe? So the entire organization in entire Europe done by micro enterprises, done by shared services platforms, done by EMCs. Is this process started? Where are we if we look at the bigger picture?
Absolutely, yes. I have to say that our CEO, our head of HR, the entire organization was working hardly to set the micro enterprise. Since I would say, again, let's not forget 3 years ago in 2019, there was an acquisition, so it was not easy. I would say just a few months after the acquisition, when the situation was a little bit more stable, clearly, immediately we started to implement some micro enterprise. So, so the organization is, the whole organization is something that is not new for the whole organization. And there is a clear common vision and intention of all members of the senior leadership team to implement this organization. But now, again, we are in some cases in the phase of the implementation. So it has to be cascaded, not only at the senior leadership team level, but also down to the full organization in order to make it them working.
I have a final question for you. Why should other organizations, other firms, maybe international firms, with different DNA, look at what HeYi is doing? Why is the RenDanHeYi so unique and interesting from your perspective?
Because you are trying to create a sort of company in a company, because inside you can leverage the scale, and all the advantages to be number one in the world, especially in an industry like our industry that is capital intensive. So I have the possibility, I have a clear advantage in terms, you can imagine, R&D, product development, investments in the operations. But you don't lose the flexibility, the speed, and the clear ownership of the people. So is the right combination, or better, the best way to leverage the scale, but also to leverage the typical aspects of small organization that are by definition fast, agile, and results oriented. If you succeed to combine this, is for sure a winning game, especially even more in an environment so volatile like it is today, where the level of the challenge is simply higher from all point of view, because clearly the volatility and the uncertainties of the things, especially in this moment where you don't have longer a winning business model or a winning business approach, but you must be so agile and so fast in reacting in order to understand the changes, in order to apply the changes to keep winning.
What's your suggestion for other firms? Where should they start from if they wanted to do something similar?
To look at the cultural part will be the biggest challenge. They have to believe first, they have to believe in the model. Once you decide to make, you need to understand the model, you need to believe in the moments. When you decide to go, you should not be scared about if you fail. You should not be scared. It's part of the game. And then the other important thing is the selection of the right people, and to give to the microenterprise, to feed the microenterprise. The microenterprise need to be supported. You cannot create the microenterprise and think that the job is done. The job is at the beginning. So this is something that has to be enhanced. You need to feed, you need to modify all the time.
Carmine, I think we are at the end of this interview, this conversation. Thank you so much for sharing what is happening, having shared also your insights, your suggestions, your ideas of what are the rationales and the potential paths for this transformation. I can already anticipate that I would like to know more in the future about how it's going. So maybe we are going to do another episode to see what happened in, I don't know, 6 months, 12 12 months, because it seems that you are paving new ground, you are honestly experimenting, and probably you are facing some universal challenges that most of the market is facing right now, especially big organizations. So you are touching upon that, the amount of uncertainty, the difficulties we are seeing, the supply chain with the Ukraine, of course, where all of this is impacting the entire market, not just your industry. And I think that most organizations should reflect on what we shared today to find their own answers, but at least to think about these same challenges. So thank you so much for it, and let's talk again soon to see the progress, let's say the amazing results that you will have achieved. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me, and it will be a pleasure to contribute to those kind of discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you.